The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the crystal-clear waters of the African coast. The waves lapped gently against the shore, their rhythmic cadence echoing through the small fishing village nestled between the sea and the lush, tropical forests. A soft breeze rustled through the palm trees, swaying their fronds like graceful dancers. The air was heavy with the scent of salt and seaweed, mingled with the exotic aromas of unfamiliar flowers and spices carried on the trade winds. The villagers, hardened by a life spent on the ocean, were mostly oblivious to the beauty that surrounded them. They went about their daily routines, mending nets, tending to their boats, and preparing for the night's fishing. But there was one young woman who could not help but feel a strange sense of unease. Her name was Aya, and she had been feeling it ever since she first arrived in the village, washed up on its shore. As dusk fell, Aya wandered along the waterfront, drawn to the eerie song that seemed to emanate from the depths. It was a haunting melody, both beautiful and terrifying at the same time. She had heard the sailors talk of the Siren Sisters, 3 mermaids who lived in a hidden grotto beneath the waves. Their song, they said, was responsible for the disappearance of many brave souls who had ventured too close to their lair. Aya shivered, her dark skin prickling with gooseflesh. She knew that she should stay away from the sirens, but something inside her compelled her forward. Perhaps it was her curiosity, or perhaps it was her innate sense of justice. Whatever the reason, she felt a burning need to uncover the truth behind the legend. As she drew closer to the waves, the song grew louder, more urgent. It seemed to be calling out to her, beckoning her into the depths, summoning all of her courage. Aya waded into the water, feeling the coolness of the sea envelop her body. The water reached her waist, then her chest, then her neck. She felt herself being pulled forward, as if by an invisible force. With a superhuman effort, she broke the surface, gasping for air. There, in the distance, she saw 3 figures swimming towards her. They were beautiful women with long, flowing hair, their scales glimmering in the moonlight. As they drew closer, Aya could see their enchanting faces, their lips curled into sinister smiles. They were the Siren Sisters. "Come with us," Aya, the eldest sister, purred. "You belong with us, in the depths of the ocean. Your place is among the waves, not on this barren..." Aya shrank back, frightened by the mermaid's eerie beauty. She tried to speak, but found herself unable to form words. The other 2 sisters glided closer, their long hair flowing behind them like liquid silver. They circled her, their gazes fixed on her, with an intensity that made her feel both desired and terrified. "Come with us, Aya," the middle sister crooned, reaching out to touch her cheek. "We can show you a world beyond your wildest dreams. A world where you will never want to leave." Aya's heart raced, but she refused to give in to their hypnotic gazes. "No," she managed to say, her voice barely audible over the song. "You are monsters. You lure men to their deaths." The sirens' faces contorted with anger, their smiles twisting into snarls. The eldest sister reached out, grabbing Aya's arm with an iron grip. "You dare speak against us," she hissed. "Very well, then. You will see for yourself the fate that awaits those who dare defy us." As the sirens dragged her deeper into the ocean, Aya felt a terror unlike anything she had ever known. The water grew colder, the pressure more intense. She struggled against the sisters' grip, but it was useless. They were too strong, too determined. Finally, they reached a hidden grotto, its walls adorned with the skeletons of countless sailors. The mermaids dragged Aya to the center of the chamber, where a massive throne made of coral and pearl stood. Upon it sat the ruler of the sirens, their own sister, the eldest of them all. Her scales gleamed like polished silver, and her eyes burned with an inner fire that seemed to consume everything in their... "You dare defy us," the queen hissed, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You dare speak against our ways." She gestured to the skeletons surrounding them. "This is what happens to those who dare challenge our authority. This is what becomes of those who do not bow before us." Aya trembled, her heart racing in fear. She tried to speak, to beg for mercy or explain her actions, but no words would come. The other two sisters circled her, their faces twisted into cruel smiles. They seemed to enjoy her suffering, reveling in her terror. As if in response to some unspoken signal, the queen raised a single, curved fin above her head. "Let her see," she growled. "Let her see what true power is." With a swift motion, she brought the fin down, striking the surface of the water with a resounding crack. The impact sent shockwaves through the chamber, and Aya felt herself thrown to the ground. When the water settled, she looked up to see that the ceiling had collapsed, revealing a shaft of moonlight streaming down onto the throne. "Now," the queen hissed, "you will witness our true form." Slowly, the queen's tail split apart, revealing two powerful legs encased in gleaming scales. As she stood, towering above the other mermaids, her tail flowed back to reveal a feminine form clad in a shimmering dress that hugged her curves. Her head reached the ceiling of the grotto, and her hair spilled down around her in cascading waves. She was no longer a mermaid, but a woman of indescribable beauty and grace. The other sirens transformed as well, their tails disappearing as they too stood upon the floor of the chamber. They circled around Aya, their movements graceful and ethereal, their faces no longer twisted into snarls, but now displaying expressions of amusement and curiosity. The queen stepped down from her throne, her gaze fixed on Aya as she slowly circled her. "You see," she whispered, her voice now gentle and seductive, "we are not monsters. We are not here to harm you. We are simply creatures of the sea, as you are creatures of the land. We have our ways, and sometimes those ways seem strange to those who do not understand them. But you, Aya, you are special. You have seen our true form, and you have survived. Not many can say that." Aya felt her heart soften as she looked into the queen's eyes. They were not the eyes of a monster, but of a creature torn between worlds. She could sense the loneliness and longing that lay beneath the surface. "I'm sorry," she managed to say. "I didn't mean to insult you. I was just trying to protect my people." The queen's expression softened further. "We understand, child, and you are right to protect those you love, but perhaps there is another way, a way for us to live together in harmony, each respecting the other's boundaries." She paused, considering her words carefully. "You see, your people have built their homes on the shores of our domain. They have fished our waters and hunted our lands. We have turned a blind eye, for we are creatures of peace, but our patience is not infinite." Aya listened, her heart pounding in her chest. The queen continued, "Perhaps, if you were to return to your village and speak of what you have seen and learned here, your people might be more understanding. They might learn to live in harmony with us." She gestured around the chamber, taking in the skeletons and the decaying remains of their feasts. "This need not continue. There is room for both of our worlds, if we are only willing to try." Aya nodded, tears streaming down her face. She knew that this would not be an easy task, convincing her people to change their ways and accept the sirens as neighbors rather than enemies. But she also knew that the queen was right. There had to be another way. "I will try," she whispered. "I will do my best to make them understand." The queen smiled, and for a moment she looked almost human. "Thank you, Aya. Your courage and wisdom will not be forgotten." With a wave of her hand, the chamber began to change, the skeletons and debris fading away, replaced by the splendor of a vibrant coral reef. The other sirens joined in, their songs weaving together to create a harmony that was both haunting and beautiful. As Aya prepared to leave, the queen placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, child, the path you walk will not be an easy one. There will be those who will resist change and who will try to turn your words against you. But you must remain strong and continue to believe in the possibility of peace, for it is only through understanding and compassion that true harmony can be achieved." The other sirens gathered around Aya, their voices soft and soothing as they sang a farewell song. The melody was unlike anything she had ever heard before, and it filled her heart with a sense of longing and wanderlust. As she made her way back through the underwater caverns, the beauty and majesty of the Sirens' domain slowly began to fade from her memory. The once vibrant coral reefs and schools of exotic fish gave way to the familiar sights of her village. Perched on the edge of the shore, the villagers went about their daily tasks, unaware of the profound change that had taken place inside Aye. She knew that she had to find a way to share her experiences with them, to make them understand the truth about the sirens and the importance of living in harmony with their neighbors in the sea. Aya spent the next few days in seclusion, gathering her thoughts and trying to find the right words to convey her message. She knew that she couldn't simply tell her people to trust the sirens, she had to show them. So she began to gather various shells and seaweed from the shore, crafting them into a simple garland that she could wear around her neck. As she prepared to speak to the village elders, she felt a mixture of nervousness and determination coursing through her veins. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Elders," she began, "I have seen things that I cannot unsee. I have journeyed to the heart of the Sirens' domain, and I have come to understand them in a way that none of us ever have before." The village elders exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Aya continued, "They are not the monsters that we have always believed them to be. They are creatures of peace, creatures who have been forced to live in isolation because of our actions. If we continue down this path, if we do not change our ways, there will be no end to the suffering that we inflict upon each other." She reached up and pulled the garland of shells and seaweed from around her neck, holding it out for all to see. "I beg you, elders, to consider the truth of my words, to see the beauty and the wisdom that the sirens possess. They are not our enemies, they are our neighbors. They share this world with us, and together we can make it a better place." The village elders exchanged more glances, their expressions growing more thoughtful with each passing moment. Finally, the oldest and wisest of them all, who had led the village for countless years, stood up. His voice, cracked with age but still strong, carried across the gathering. "Aya," he said, "what you have seen and experienced is indeed profound. We cannot deny the truth that you have brought back with you. It is clear that we must reconsider our stance on the sirens and find a way to live in harmony with them." The gathered villagers murmured among themselves, their faces a mixture of surprise and hope. The old leader continued, "We will discuss this further, and in time we will come to a decision that we believe is best for our people and for the creatures who share this ocean with us. Until then, Aya, you are to remain here, among us, to help us understand the ways of the sirens. You are our guide, our teacher, and our champion. You are the one who will lead us into a new era of peace and understanding." As Aya listened to the elder speak, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had never imagined that her journey would have such a profound impact on her village. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but with the support of her people and the wisdom of the sirens, she was confident that they could find a way to live in harmony with their oceanic neighbors. Over the next few weeks, Aya spent every waking moment teaching the villagers about the sirens, their customs, and their beliefs. She showed them how to communicate with them using the same song language she had learned during her journey. The villagers were fascinated by the sirens' way of life and began to see them as more than just monsters. They started to understand the importance of respecting the sea and its inhabitants. One day, as Aya was sitting on the shore, watching the waves roll in, she saw a group of sirens swimming towards the village. They were led by their queen, the same siren who had helped her during her journey. The queen approached Aya, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Aya," she said, her voice soft and ethereal. "You have done more for our kind than you will ever know. Your words have spread far and wide, and other villages are beginning to listen." The news of Aya's village spread throughout the sea, and soon other villages followed suit, learning to communicate with the sirens and forming alliances based on mutual understanding and respect. The once hostile waters became a place of harmony, as humans and sirens worked together to protect their shared home. As the years passed, Aya continued to act as a bridge between the two species. She traveled between villages, sharing stories and knowledge, and encouraging others to join in the effort to create a lasting peace. Her influence extended beyond the ocean, as word of her work spread across the land, inspiring people from all walks of life to seek understanding and empathy for those who were different from themselves. The Sirens, grateful for Aya's efforts, bestowed upon her a great honor. They gave her the gift of their song. From that day forward, Aya was able to communicate with the Sirens without the need for translation, for their song was now a part of her own voice. She used this gift to continue her work, spreading the message of peace and unity far and wide.